Hi, welcome to Redefining Franny. I'm your host, Franzani Etienne. In this vlog, I talk about my journey to being the very best version of myself. As a life coach, I help people do the same. I've really been thinking about this concept recently. I think it's because I'm watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, on how we have such rigorous plans for our workouts. I'm training for a half marathon at the end of the year, and I already figured out what my training plan is going to be, what my eating plan is going to be. And as a life coach, I really make sure that you are applying those same principles of discipline to your personal growth and development. Being the best version of yourself is an intentional, time consuming endeavor, and it requires just as much planning and rigor and goal setting as running marathons, being in your best health. So as a life coach, I help you create individualized plan to continuously become that best version of yourself. And today we're going to talk about, I feel like, the ground of that, the base level of that, which is self-awareness. I'm going to read this quote from Aristotle that I really like. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And I truly believe that. So today we're going to talk about the 7 perspectives or attitudes you could be taking during COVID-19. And when I say perspectives or attitudes, I'm talking about the combination of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. A couple things to consider before we... Well, first of all, this is all based on the energy self-perception chart. I am an energy or a master practitioner of the Energy Leadership Index, which is a personality assessment that really tells you how you show up in this world. And so, which is, depending on the different levels, how you think, how you feel, and therefore how you act. It's important to note that the energy levels go from disempowering to more empowering. So the lower levels feel bad, but that doesn't mean they are bad. I read this something recently that says that we are the self-help generation, and we tend to have feelings about our feelings. So you might feel guilty that you're angry, but the truth of the human experience is that we are just supposed to feel our feelings, not judge them, and just experience them. And these energy levels, you'll realize that you do a lot of these things unconsciously, but the point of this is to bring it into your consciousness. When it's conscious, you have a choice, you can grow from there, you can learn from there, and it's so important to growth to be conscious. It's the only way for you to then get the clarity you need to move forward. So before we jump in, disempowering to more empowering, 7 levels, energy self-perception chart, and all of these levels are always flowing within you at different times. So we're going to look at COVID-19 specifically, but if you want to dive into these levels more deeply with me, I'm actually hosting a challenge starting Monday called Choose Growth, 10 Days to Self-Awareness, where we're going to dive into each level even deeper. But I'll share more information, but you have to be part of my Facebook group, Your Life Redefined, Shameless, Bold, and Free, to learn a little bit more and dive deeper. So before we jump into the COVID example, if you look at cheesecake, your attitude and perspective towards cheesecake, which was your thoughts, your feelings, and therefore your actions towards cheesecake, are going to be influenced by your thought on dairy, your thought on cheese as a dessert, your thought on possibly even the Cheesecake Factory. So there are always perspectives influencing other perspectives, but for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of this blog post, we're going to just look at your attitudes and perspectives, your thoughts, feelings, and actions towards COVID-19. So without further ado, level 1. Level 1, the primary thought is, I lose. So you're in victim mode, as in you are at the effect of what's happening to you in the world. And so what happens is your thought is victim, your feeling is apathy, and your action is lethargy. So you just avoid it all. You don't want to deal. This is the person, or this is not the person. When I'm feeling level 1, I am like, I don't want to deal with all this. I'm going to take a nap. I don't want to deal with all this. I'm going to turn on Netflix and I'm going to numb. Netflix in and of itself isn't a level 1 activity, but when you're using it to avoid other things, that's when it becomes level 1. Level 2, the primary thought is, I win, you lose. This is a place of blame, judgment. The thought is conflict, whether it's internal or external. The feeling is anger, and the action is defiance. So I love these 2 examples that I wrote. So you have a strong opinion. Oftentimes when this is when you're a little annoyed. This is your level 2. You have strong opinions. Either everyone should stay at home and people who don't are assholes. So you blame everyone for the issue that's happening, COVID. This is why we can't have nice things. All these people partying on rooftops. This is when you feel like that. Or the economy should reopen and everyone who thinks differently is a scared asshole. So either way, you're judging everything else. You're blaming everyone else. This is when you feel the need to hoard toilet paper to make sure that you get to the grocery store first. When you see a mask, you get annoyed that person isn't following the rules. You're going to follow the rules. This is when you're very much in your fight or flight. I'm right, you're wrong. That's level 2. So according to the energy self-perception chart, the majority of the world lives at level 2 because it's effective. When you're annoyed, when you're angry, when you're going from conflict, you do things. And then also level 1 and level 2, you tend to waffle. You think, oh, I always lose, bad things always happen, and then you think, fuck this, now I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to get up into my level 1 and 2. But these 2 levels are very disempowering. You're at the effect of a lot of things. You're judging everything outside of you. You have no real sense of control. Level 3 is when things start to feel a little bit more empowering. So level 3, you start to rationalize. Your thought is responsibility. You're responsible for what you do. The feeling is forgiveness, and the action is cooperation. So the thought is, I win, and hopefully you win too. So you think right now in COVID, you're looking at the people who aren't wearing masks, and you're like, well, maybe they don't know better. At this level, you generally think that people try to do the best that they can. They just don't know any better. You Lysol all the things you need to do. You look at the person not wearing a mask and you think, oh, they're an idiot, but they don't know any better. It's okay. I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to do what I need. You're very much in the level of cooperation. I'm going to follow the rules. I hope everyone does too. Level 4 is you win. So this is when you either this is when you really start to take care. So at the most intense level, these are people who are volunteering right now. Also people who are bringing, food and things to their families. They're making sure that their homes are taken care of. When I'm in my level 4, I definitely get into self-compassion mode. It's okay, things are tough. I'm going to take care of me. Make sure I do the best I can to make sure that everyone else is doing okay. So buying my masks and taking a bath when I'm feeling stressed and just really taking care of me. Level 5 is when you take a broader perspective. This is creating a win-win solution. So this is someone who sees the opportunity in all of this, or when you're feeling the opportunity in all of this. When you're taking on the house projects because you have more time. When you're participating in personal development challenges. Shout outs to my Choose Growth Challenge. And this is, and here is you really kind of step out of judgment. You probably don't even notice the people wearing a mask, not wearing a mask in COVID. I feel like the real level 5 I've seen in COVID is when people talk about, so I didn't talk about the thought, feeling, and action. So the thought is reconciliation, so it's bigger picture thinking. The feeling is peace, so contentment. And the action is acceptance. And acceptance in action is really just non-judgment. And it's really seeing where can we grow from this space? What's the opportunity here? I've seen a lot of articles about how America can get better, what we can learn, how we can grow as a people, all the things, so that's when you're in that space. My level 5 thinking of the opportunity has been, oh, there's a slowdown. Let me take this opportunity to live by a strict schedule and get better at that. So seeing the opportunity in all things. That's level 5. So level 6 is having the understanding that problems don't exist. So the idea is we all win. Problems don't exist, only opportunities to observe and experience. This person, this is when you're completely a non-judgment. The thought is synthesis and synergy. The feeling is joy, and the action is wisdom. I feel the most like this. Like this is when you're really feeling connected to other people. I feel like this when I'm in conversation. And this person, like the feeling of joy, this person may or may not. They probably don't even remember if the people at the store were wearing a mask. They're all about, I'm going here to focus on whatever I'm here to focus on. So you're really not judging the world, you're experiencing the world outside of you. So I feel that most when I'm in connection with people, and this level feels a very strong level of empathy for others, feels a very strong level of connection. So the level 6 and 7 are people who have a very strong sense of inner faith. And so one of the cons is that they could be a high risk taker. That's why I said this person probably doesn't even remember if they're wearing a mask, because they're not worried about getting sick or, whatever it is that tends to overwhelm us that we cannot control. So that's level 6. Level 7. So level 7 is the highest energy level. No one stays here all the time. The thought is winning and losing are illusions. And it is non-judgment. Feeling is absolute passion, so like bliss. And the action is creation. So this is the feeling when, like, you look at your husband while you're taking a walk, at least for me, and you think, this is what it's all about. Just being in this moment, loving on the people you love, taking it day by day. This is when life doesn't feel that different from how you're acting in COVID isn't any different from how you would act in everyday life. There's no distinction because none of it's a problem. You're just living. This is people who can be this is when you're 100% present. And I think this is always the goal, but it's such a lofty one, right? And I wanted to say also at level 6 is the one right before it, the connectedness. A good place to describe this is feeling in flow. So I always think of flow as when a writer just like starts writing, there's nothing standing in the way. I feel like that when I'm talking to friends and family. Maybe you feel like that when you're painting, when you're playing with your kids. Level 6 is when you're just so connected to what you're doing that everything else falls away. So it's a very present state. And level 7 is when you're just there's absolute passion in everything you're doing. So it's that next level feeling. Those are the 7 levels. Level 1, I lose. Level 2, I win, you lose. Level 3, I win, and hopefully you win too. Level 4, you win. Level 5, win-win. Level 6, we always win. Level 7, there's no such thing as winning and losing. So that is a very general kind of framework of what your perspective or attitude could be during COVID. And at any different moment, you could jump from one to another. You can jump from one to another in a second. Just noticing that you're feeling that way and becoming conscious is so important. And it's the first step to growth. So if you want to learn more about the 7 levels of attitude, perspective, energy, please join Choose Growth Challenge. You will find the link to sign up. If you're in my Facebook group, you will be able to see the videos every day and get the homework. But we'll be diving into these different levels and how they affect you, and then and the pros and cons and the triggers and how you can navigate through different ones and choose the ones that work best for you, all in that challenge. And there was something else I wanted to say. I think that's it, y'all. So I hope this was helpful. I find this to be such a strong and amazing self-awareness tool. I use it all the time. I'm always looking at the different perspectives. and how I'm approaching different things. So the more conscious you are, the more you can have influence over it, and you can control how you want to feel. Thanks so much for joining me. Sign up for the challenge starting Monday, and I'll see you on the flip side, y'all.